Welcome to Serving with Success, Dietary Specifications and Nutrient Analysis. The objectives of this module are to learn the procedures for planning meals served with the proper components for quantities and consistent with the federal standards for calories, saturated fat, trans fat, and sodium, and to use nutrition fact labels, child nutrition labels, and product formulation statements to be aware of the calories, saturated fats, trans fats, and sodium in each food serving in order to achieve better meal planning. On December 13, 2010, President Obama signed into law Public Law 111-296, the Healthy, Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2010. This included calorie minimums and maximums for the different grade levels, as well as limits on saturated fat, not in excess of 10% of the total calories in meals, and zero trans fat in meals, except for naturally occurring trans fats. The law also established sodium maximums for these grade groups in reimbursable meals served to students for both lunch and breakfast. In addition to monitoring compliance of meal components and quantities, it is also necessary to assess compliance with the dietary specifications. Considering the variation in student populations and grade levels among school districts in the United States, this creates a challenge for LEAs in planning menus with the proper meal components and quantities and in meeting the requirement for calories, saturated fat, trans fat, and sodium. At present, 1 in 3 children in America are overweight or obese. School meals play a critical role in helping children learn to select balanced meals and appropriate food portions. Minimum and maximum calorie levels are based on data pertaining to children's healthy weight, physical activity, and opportunities for meals and snacks outside the school meals programs. In some planned calorie ranges, there are overlaps that allow meals to be planned for combined grade levels instead of separate planning for each level.
Your specifications for calories, you have your breakfast requirements and then your lunch requirements. And you have your weekly calories, so it's divided out into the grade groups. So you can do a K through 5 calorie range, a 6 through 8 calorie range, or a 9 through 12 calorie range for breakfast and lunch. Breakfast does allow for an overlap in K through 12 menu planning calories, but at lunch there's only an overlap for K through 8, and then 9 through 12 is its own calorie range.
Although there may be overlap in one area, the menu planner must consider the minimum components and quantities and ensure they meet the daily and weekly requirements for the appropriate grade levels. Reimbursable meals are planned to be nutrient-dense and provide students with more fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Additionally, the dietary specifications for meals are based on weighted weekly averages. They do not apply to individual students on a per-meal basis. Therefore, if a menu planner offers food choices or employs offer versus serve, students may select meals that can either exceed or may fall short of dietary specifications. Menu planning records and the monitoring of students' food choices can assist menu planners in offering options that address the needs and preferences of most students. Currently, there is no total fat requirement in school meals. Only saturated fat and trans fat are regulated. Saturated fat restriction or requirement in the school meal program has long been regulated.
Your total fat, there's never been a requirement, but your saturated fat, we require that you serve less than 10% of your calories is your restriction for saturated fat. And then trans fat is not allowed, so you want to order products and serve all meals that are 0% trans fat.
In school year 2014-15, Target 1 of the sodium limits took effect and is in place through school year 2016-17, providing time for the food industry to reformulate products and for school children to grow accustomed to foods containing less salt. Here are the sodium Target 1 levels for each grade group. USDA is facilitating sodium reduction in school meals by offering low-sodium products in the USDA Foods Program. For example, the USDA Foods Program offers low-sodium canned beans and vegetables and not more than 140 milligrams per half cup in order to meet the reduced sodium requirement in school meals. The sodium content in most cheese products has been reduced, and there is a wide availability of frozen vegetables and meats that do not contain added salt. The sodium limit does not apply to each meal offered, but to the average meal offered during the school week. One meal might offer a relatively high sodium meat, but then meals with lower to moderate sodium content should be offered the rest of the week. The following items are non-creditable foods. However, they must be counted in the dietary specifications for calories, saturated fat, trans fat, and sodium. Salad toppings, that is, salad dressings, bacon bits, and sour cream. Jams and jellies. Cream cheese that is low protein and high fat. Jell-O and puddings. And sherbet and ice cream. To make the food you serve count as part of a reimbursable meal. Prepare meals from scratch frequently. Offer more fresh food. Read food labels diligently. And follow correct menu patterns and serving portions before offering any non-creditable foods. Ensure the cashier is aware of any non-creditable food offered with reimbursable meals, especially where offer versus serve is employed. Now that you have finished viewing dietary specifications and nutrient analysis, complete the following brief quiz.